Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. And we talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm your host, Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Now today, me and Buckeye Mike discuss the news of Derek Carr going to the New Orleans Saints.
Derek Carr is headed to New Orleans. Now, all we currently know as of last I checked, I don't know if you have any more news on it or update on it. The last I checked, the only thing that we have is that it's a 4-year deal. Now, in my opinion, I think it's a good move because as much as I harp on Derek Carr is a pretty good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it got old for him with the Raiders between Oakland and Vegas. I think that it became stale. I think that essentially he wasn't a right fit for the system. And the whole, thing with Gruden and then having to move on didn't help. My main point with this is he didn't have a defense. And if you look at the way everything was produced with the Raiders, it all came down to the defense needing to get stops to win games. Essentially, even though wins and losses fall on the quarterback's shoulders because he carries the brunt, because he is the leader of the team outside of the head coach, there was nothing wrong with Derek. The Raiders were just never built to take the team where they essentially want to go. Now, will the Raiders ever go back there? I don't know. They just need to honestly wipe the slate clean, start over, rebuild completely. Obviously, not necessarily completely. Use the key pieces that you still have that are actually good players in those spots. But for the most part, start over, basically. And if you build it right, I'm going to say this about the Raiders. If you build it right, you have the potential and the capability now with Brady out of the AFC. But if you look at the AFC, Patrick Mahomes has become the Tom Brady in the AFC already. And the fact of, if you want the chance to get out of the AFC, you most likely have to go through Patrick Mahomes. And if it's not Patrick Mahomes, it's Joe Burrow. But, I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes first and foremost. Now, if we look at this from the Saints' perspective, I absolutely love this move. I have been in favor of and a fan of this move. Again, because Derek Carr is a good quarterback. He's not Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes, obviously, but it's hard to be Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow because they're just completely on a different level. Derek Carr as a whole, I think, like I said, a great move because of the fact, we don't know the return time for Jameis Winston, which is a big key, I think, why they basically went all in on this. Taysom Hill, I'd say he's more of a decent quarterback. And that's me actually liking Taysom Hill. He falls to me more under a Derek King, Jordan Ta'amu style of quarterback. He's more run first, pass second, almost JT-ish. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but when you have Taysom Hill as a quarterback, it's more set up for like a 2-quarterback system. And we know from experience of watching these football games and teams over the years that it's hard to run a 2 QB system. Overall, because I'm sure you've got points that I've kind of skimmed over or skipped, but overall, I give the move an A+ and a 10 out of 10. And I usually don't automatically go all the way, but I just love this move so much. And I usually don't go all the way because I want to see what the moves do. But I mean, you have Michael Thomas, you have Chris Olave, you have Alvin Kamara if he escapes his issues. But that's kind of where I stand. It's a good move. I can't wait to see what happens. I'm excited again to watch the New Orleans Saints. I've kind of always been excited since Drew Brees and Sean Payton and Reggie Bush started. But I've been kind of lackluster since Drew Brees retired, but I am way more excited now than I was before. But what are your thoughts on this move?
Now, after basically, like you said, you touched on a lot of points, to go over, some of the things you said as well, and some of the things you didn't, like you said. Overall, Derek Carr, and I was one of the people that were on the side of, I like Derek Carr. A lot of people did not like Derek Carr because they said that he couldn't win. And like you said, a lot of times when you have a quarterback on a team that doesn't win, it's all his fault. And that's just downright not true. As we have you stated and as I've stated in the past, it just isn't true, because when you look at a team as a whole, all you have to do is look at the whole roster and is it comparable to the best teams in the NFL? And when you look at the Raiders, that's not the case. It never has been under Derek Carr, and it never was going to be, because they never had a defense. The defense was bad, and you're giving up 30-plus points every single game. You're not going to win games. It's just not going to happen. I mean, Tom Brady, how many times did the Patriots win games when they were scoring in the teens and 20s? It happened a lot. You have to have help. There's two sides of the ball. If your defense is poor, kind of like in college, we talked about with Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, now at USC, if he never gets a good defense, they're never going to win a national championship. Well, the Raiders were never going to be a great NFL team if their defense was going to continue to be poor. And even though they have great offensive players, a few of them. And Derek Carr, I wouldn't say, again, like you said, he's not an upper echelon quarterback in the NFL. He's in the middle, maybe barely in the top half if on a good day. He's a good quarterback, but he's not elite. Mm-hmm. But you don't need an elite quarterback to have an elite team. All you have to have is a quarterback that gets the job done. And if everything else around said player is good enough or great enough, then you're going to have a really good shot to win a Super Bowl or go really, really far. You don't need an elite quarterback. You need a really good quarterback that doesn't make mistakes and is not going to be the reason you lose. As long as Derek Carr goes to the Saints and their defense is great and their offensive players that they have, are playing at a high level, if Alvin Kamara is on the team, if Taysom Hill can come in and run the ball on 3rd and 1s all the time, because to your point, the two quarterback system can work when you have a quarterback like Taysom Hill that can come in and he knows the playbook, and he's not going to mess up, specifically on 3rd and shorts. He's just going to get you the first. So Derek Carr doesn't have to put himself in danger of getting injured. I've always believed that it'd be really smart to have a player, even if he's not a quarterback, just to come in the game and get those sneaks instead of putting your franchise quarterback on the line. I've never really understood that, because you don't have to do that. Just get a player that knows how to get the ball from the center and just sneak it over the line. You don't need the franchise quarterback to do that. But most teams don't. But Taysom Hill is a really good player for all those reasons. Like you said, where that puts Jameis Winston, probably not in a good spot for him. I mean, I don't really see how they keep all three. You never know. But overall, for the New Orleans Saints, this is a great move, because, I mean, maybe a little bit of bias, but I was kind of hoping that he'd go to the Panthers. I mean, I got to watch the Panthers on TV all the time. I mean, I want them to win because I got to watch them. They put them on TV. It's a locality thing, kind of like you with the Browns. Unfortunately, the teams are horrible because of moves like this. The Panthers needed to get Derek Carr. He interviewed with the Panthers. If he didn't want to go, or if they decided not to, to bring him in, whatever decision that it was a bad move for the Panthers. If it was their decision, if it was Carr's, totally understandable. I mean, he probably would prefer to be with the Saints because he sees better prospects down there than with the Panthers. But overall, looking at this move, this could easily propel the Saints to be the best team in the NFC South, because the NFC South's bad. Every team's not very good right now. The Panthers, all they need is a quarterback and maybe a couple more linemen or just a couple more skill position players, because their defense is really good. Mm-hmm. So overall, the Panthers really missed out. They could have been the best team potentially with Carr. The Saints, they have a great defense. They got good offensive players. So now with Derek Carr, they could be the best team in the South. The Bucs don't have Brady anymore. And the Falcons, who knows what they're going to do. So just looking at the NFC South and the fact that the Saints are probably now in prime position to win that division, it is an A+, 10 out of 10 move, just like you said, because of that fact alone. Derek Carr gives you a chance to be a really good team. And the Saints, as long as the rest of their team is playing a high level, I think Derek Carr can get them there. So it's a great move for the Saints. For the Raiders, like you said, they're prospects in the future are not looking very good because of the fact they just don't have the defense, and now they don't have the quarterback. And that's why when we were discussing Tom Brady to the Raiders before the retirement, we were discussing Aaron Rodgers to the Raiders. I was like, I don't see it, because why would they want to go to a team that's not built to win a lot? Getting far in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. That's why I just didn't really see it, because the Raiders just aren't built for that. But the Saints have a better chance, and hopefully for Derek Carr it works out. And for the Raiders, just get a defense and find another quarterback, and maybe you can win in the future. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about Derek Carr going to the New Orleans Saints, whether you think the Saints will be helped in the long term by getting Derek Carr at quarterback. Follow me on Twitter as well, and I will see you next time.